What if we all stop tipping? Why not eliminate tipping and just charge for service and pay staff appropriately? Good luck. It's a good idea and I'm all for it. But every time a restaurant actually tries it, all of their hottest servers, who make the most tips, leave and go work somewhere where they can make more money. The restaurants usually go broke or switch back. You're not hurting the company by not tipping, so they're not going to care. I stopped eating out because the service is getting worse. I used to tip 20%. The people who are paid tips don't want tips to go away. A server at a popular restaurant can make several hundred in tips on a busy night. I'll bet you many servers and bartenders would quit. I live in Europe. If you start a business and cannot afford to pay your staff the minimum wage, you cannot have a business. Simple as. That's how it works in the rest of the world. Because servers and bartenders would make less money. There's no appropriate wage that 99% of places can pay that matches my tipped wage that also wouldn't bankrupt them. It's going to have to come from the government. Petition your state legislature to abolish the minimum wage offset for tips. Your employer will no longer have an incentive to keep track of tips, and will stop caring whether you pay them or not. Pay staff appropriately. Because if you ask 10 people how much appropriately means, you will get 24 different answers. Really, the only good answer is that if you aren't getting paid what you think you're worth, look at changing your job. If you can't, then maybe your time isn't worth what you think it is. What if, and hear me out, we stopped focusing on the people making the lowest amount of money, and making sure the people making the largest amount of money were distributing it more evenly? This bullshit infighting about tipping distracts from the reality that the billionaire class is making comically large gains on their wealth, while simultaneously making it seem like it is our fault that stuff is more expensive. Every day a new "why do we tip?" / let's ban tipping thread, hardly any asking why we let the ultra wealthy away with hoarding all the resources. It's insane. I was prompted to tip at a bakery. Not even the kind with nice coffee and some tables. The take a number, that's $30, there's the exit type. Not in the US. But I feel tipping should be for exceptional service. Not so the person can make enough to live. The dirty little secret is that most people who work for tips don't really want things to change. Even a mediocre server at a mid-range place makes more than most people realize. I waited tables back in high school, which was 20 years ago at this point. On a slow night then I'd average $15 an hour. On a busy night it could be 3+ times more. For everyone in the US who thinks that it would be impossible for restaurants to make a profit if they paid servers a decent wage without tips, remember that a lot of the world doesn't do it the same way. I love being able to walk into an eatery in the UK or Europe, look at the menu, order, and know what it costs without having to do any math other than addition. If my burger is £15 and my beer is £4, then my meal costs £19. I don't need to know if there is a sales tax or if there is a special alcohol tax, or whatever. I don't need to decide if I want to punish the server because the bun was stale or the salsa too spicy. I don't need to decide if the service was just good or exceptional. I don't need to think if it was the service or the winning smile. I pay for my meal. They get paid for their work. They can even rely on their pay whether it's a busy day or a slow one. It seems so much more respectful all around. And it is obviously possible, even if it requires some small changes in law, business, worker, and customer expectations. I just don't go out anymore. Most of the places we've been to after COVID has gone south with both quality and quantity. We just cook at home. Have guests? Cook at home. Feeling lazy? Order food but don't do delivery to avoid fees and tips. I still go out for services like haircut and tip at those places. Because servers would never go for it and would just jump ship to a new restaurant that allows it. Where else can you make $600/night short of selling drugs or sex? Living in a country where tipping isn't really a thing, I honestly find it weird that it's such an important part of how some finances run around. When it's there it works fine, probably better. The problem is changing the system. The company doesn't pay probably, partly, because people tip. People tip because the company doesn't pay probably. This is how it works in Australia. Servers get a living wage from their employers. Ladies and gentlemen, I present to you, Europe,